Islam, peace and love. I am Sade Renee L. All rights are reserved, and I'm back at it again with another video. And thank you for tuning in. Today I'm actually going to be going over the Nancy Schaefer speech. She was an advocate for child protection services and exposing the fraud. Kind of a tragic story because she actually was a senator in Georgia, and she started exposing the fraud and the corrupt business of child family services. And, you know, she lost a lot of friends, she lost a lot of titles, she ended up, it seems like, to be losing her life. I mean, it's a conspiracy behind it, but her and her husband were both advocates for the corruption and exposing child family services, and they were found murdered, dead in bed. Yeah, I know. Attempted suicide allegedly. So, I mean, you can do your own research with that, but I mean, to each his own. Use your gift of discernment. But anyways, I'm just going to get straight to it. As we know, my baby has been kidnapped, and this is a powerful speech by Nancy Schaefer because she is actually pretty much describing my situation and pretty much what I am going through. From top to bottom, how CFS has violated my rights, how they continue to falsify documents, and how they're holding my baby hostage for profit, period. And with that being said, I'm going to get straight to it. Again, thank you for your time. Energy. And please like, share, subscribe, donate. Go ahead and leave a comment. And without further ado, here we go. November 16, 2007. The Corrupt Business of Child Protective Services by Nancy Schaefer, Senator, 50th District. My introduction into child protective service cases was due to a grandmother in an adjoining state who called me with her tragic story. Her two granddaughters had been taken from her daughter who lived in my district. Her daughter was told wrongly that if she wanted to see her children again, she should sign a paper and give up her children. Frightened and young, the daughter did. I have since discovered that parents are often threatened into cooperation of permanent separation of their children. The children were taken to another county and placed in foster care. The foster parents were told wrongly that they could adopt the children. The grandmother then jumped through every hoop known to man in order to get her granddaughters. When the case finally came to court, it was made evident by one of the foster parents' children that the foster parents had, at any given time, 18 foster children, and that the foster mom had an inappropriate relationship with the caseworker. In the courtroom, the juvenile judge acted as though she was shocked and said the two girls would be removed quickly. They were not removed. Finally, after much pressure being applied to the Department of Family and Children Services of Georgia, DFCS, the children were driven to South Georgia to meet their grandmother, who gladly drove to meet them. After being with their grandmother 2 or 3 days, the judge, quite out the blue, wrote up a new order to send the girls to their father, who previously had no interest in the case and who lived on the West Coast. The father was in adult entertainment. His girlfriend worked as an escort, and his brother, who also worked in the business, had a sexual charge brought against him. Within a couple of days, the father was knocking on the grandmother's door and took the girls kicking and screaming to California. The father developed an unusual relationship with the former foster parents and soon moved back to the Southeast. And the foster's parents began driving to the father's residence and picking up the little girls for visits. The oldest child had told her mother and grandmother on 2 different occasions that the foster father molested her. To this day, after 5 years, this loving, caring, blood relative grandmother does not even have visitation privileges with the children. The little girls are, in my opinion, permanently traumatized, and the young mother of the girls was so traumatized with shock when the girls were first removed from her that she had not recovered. Throughout this case and through the process of dealing with multiple other mismanaged cases of the Department of Family and Children Services, DFCS, I have worked with other desperate parents and children across the state because they have no rights and no one with whom to turn. I have witnessed ruthless behavior from many caseworkers and social workers and investigators, lawyers, judges, therapists, and others, such as those who pick up the children. I have been stunned by what I have seen and heard from all victims all over the state of Georgia. In this report, I am focusing on Georgia Department of Family and Children Services, DFCS. However, I believe Child Protective Services nationwide has become corrupt and that the entire system is broken almost beyond repair. I am convinced parents and families should be warned of the dangers. The Department of Child Protective Services, known as the Department of Family and Children Services, DFCS, in Georgia, and other titles in other states, has become a protected empire built on taking children and separating families. This is not to say that there are those children who do need to be removed from wretched situations and need protection. This report is concerned with the children and parents caught up in illegal kidnapping, ineffective policies, and DFCS who does not remove a child or children when a child is enduring torment and abuse. In one country in my district, I arranged a meeting for 37 families to speak freely and without fear. These poor parents and grandparents spoke of their painful, heart-wrenching encounters with DFCS. Their suffering was overwhelming. They wept and cried. Some did not know their children were and had not seen them in years. I had witnessed this Gestapo at work, and I witnessed the deceitful conditions under which children were taken in the middle of the night out of hospitals, off of school buses, and out of homes. In one county, a private drug testing business was operating with DFCS department that required many drug tests from parents and individuals for profit. In another country, were not removed when they were enduring the worst possible abuse. Due to being exposed, several employees in a particular DFCS office were fired. However, they have now been rehired either in neighboring counties or in the same county again. According to the calls I am now receiving, the conditions in that county are returning to the same practices that they had before the light was shown on their deeds. Having worked with probably 300 cases statewide, I am convinced there is no responsibility and no accountability in the system. I have come to the conclusion that poor parents oftentimes are targeted to lose their children because they do not have the wherewithal to hire lawyers and fight the system. Being poor does not mean you are not a good parent, or that you have to do not love your child, or that your child should be removed and placed with strangers. Also, that all parents are capable of making mistakes, and that making a mistake does not mean that your children are always to be removed from your home. Even if the home is not perfect, it is a home, and that's where a child is the safest, and where he or she wants to be with family. Also, that parenting classes, anger management classes, counseling referrals, therapy classes, and on are demanded of parents with no compassion by the system, even while they're at work and while their children are separated from them. This can take months or even years, and it emotionally devastates both children and parents. Parents are victimized by the system that makes a profit for holding children longer and bonuses for not returning children. Also, that caseworkers and social workers are oftentimes guilty of fraud. They withhold evidence, they fabricate evidence, and they seek to terminate parental rights. However, when charges are made against them, the charges are ignored. Also, that the separation of families is growing as a business because local governments have grown accustomed to having taxpayer dollars to balance their ever expanding budgets. Also, that Child Protective Service and juvenile court can always hide behind a confidentiality clause in order to protect their decisions and keep the funds flowing. There should be open records and court watches. Look who's being paid. There are state employees, lawyers, court investors, court personnel, and judges. There are psychologists and psychiatrists, counselors, caseworkers, therapists, foster parents, adoptive parents, and on and on. All are looking to the children in state custody to provide job security. Parents do not realize that social workers are the glue that holds the system together, that funds the court, the child's attorney, and the multiple other jobs, including DFCS's attorney. Also, that the Adoption and Safe Families Act set in motion by President Bill Clinton offered cash bonuses to the states for every child they adopted out of the foster care. In order to receive the adoption incentive bonuses, local child protective services need more children. They must have merchandise, children, that sell, and you must have plenty of them so the buyer can choose. Some counties are known to give a $4,000 bonus for each child adopted and an additional $2,000 for a special needs child. Employees work to keep the federal dollars flowing. Also, that there is double dipping. The funding continues as long as the child is out of home. When a child in foster care is placed with a new family, then adoption bonuses funds are available. When a child is placed in a mental health facility and is on 16 drugs per day, like 2 children of a constitutive mind, more funds are involved. Also, that there are no financial resources and no real drive to unite a family to help keep them together. Also, that the incentive for social workers to return children to their parents quickly after taking them has disappeared, and who in protective services will step up to the plate and say this must end? No one, because they are all in the system together, and a system with no leader and no clear policies will always fail the children. Look at the waste in government that is forced upon the taxpayer. Also, that the policy manual is considered the last word for DFCS. However, it is too long, too confusing, poorly written, and does not take the law into consideration. Also, that if the lives of children were improved by removing them from their homes, there might be a greater need for protective services. But today, all children are not always safer. Children of who I am aware have been raped and impregnated in foster care, and the head of Foster Parents Association in my district was recently arrested because of child molestation. Also, that some parents are even told that if they want to see their children or grandchildren, they must divorce their spouse. Many who are underprivileged, feeling they have no option, will divorce and then just continue to live together. This is an anti-family policy, but parents will do anything to get their children home with them. Also, fathers, non-custodial parents, I must add, are oftentimes treated as criminals, without access to their own children, and have child support payments strangling the very life out of them. Also, that the Foster Parents Bill of Rights does not bring out that a foster parent is there only to care for a child until the child can be returned home. Many foster parents today use the Foster Parent Bill of Rights to hire a lawyer and seek to adopt the child from the real parents, who are desperately trying to get their children home and out of the system. Also, that tax dollars are being used to keep this gigantic system afloat, yet the victims' parents, grandparents, guardians, and especially the children are charged for the system's services. That grandparents have called from all over the state of Georgia trying to get custody of their grandchildren. DFCS claims relatives are contacted, but there are cases that prove differently. Grandparents who lose their grandchildren to strangers have lost their own flesh and blood. The children lose their family heritage, and grandparents are parents too, lose all connection to their heirs. Also, that the National Center on Child Abuse and Neglect in 1998 reported that 6 times as many children died in foster care than in the general public, and that once removed to official safety, these children are far more likely to suffer abuse, including sexual molestation, than in the general population. Excuse me, it's kind of hard for me to read this. Also, that according to the California Little Hoover Commission report in 2003, 30% to 70% of the children in California group homes does not belong there and should not have to been removed from their homes. All right, final remarks. On my desk are scores of cases of exhausted families and troubled children. It has been beyond me to turn my back on these sufferings, cryings, and sometimes beaten down individuals. We are mistreating the most innocent. Child Protective Services has become adult-centered to the detriment of children. No longer is judgment based on what the child needs or who the child wants to be with or what is really best for the whole family. It is some adult or bureaucrat who makes the decision, based often just on hearsay. without ever consulting a family member or just what is convenient, profitable, or less troublesome for a director of DFCS. I have witnessed such injustice and harm brought to these families that I am not sure if I even believe reform of the system is possible. The system cannot be trusted. It does not serve the people. It obliterates families and children simply because it has the power to do so. Children deserve better. Families deserve better. It is time to pull back the curtain and set our children and families free. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of those who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and the needy. That's Proverbs 31, 8 through 9. Also, in closing, we have here recommendations. Number 1, call for an independent and audit of the Department of Family and Children Services to expose corruption and fraud. Number 2, activate immediate change. Every day that passes means more families and children are subject to being held hostage. Number 3, end the financial incentives that separate families. Number 4, grant to parents their rights in writing. Number 5, mandate a search for family members to be given the opportunity to adopt their own relatives. Number 6, mandate a jury trial. Every piece of evidence is presented before removing a child from his or her parents. Number 7, require a warrant or a positive emergency circumstance before removing children from their parents. Judge Arthur G. Christian, Utah Bar Journal, January 1997, reported that except in emergency circumstances, including the need for immediate medical care, required warrants upon affidavits of probable cause before entry upon private property is permitted for the forcible removal of children from their parents. And number 8, uphold the laws when someone fabricates or presents false evidence. If a parent alleges fraud, hold a hearing with the right to discovery of all evidence. Again, this is by Senator Nancy Schaefer. She was the 50th District of Georgia. All right, and there you have it. Again, this is a very, very powerful speech by Nancy Schaefer. Exactly everything that she's explaining in this speech is exactly what I'm going through right now with my daughter. So it's very unfortunate that she wrote this almost 20 years ago, and the fact that it still has it hasn't stopped, it's just escalated. And they're just continue to steal more babies, more children, and continue to separate more families and falsify documents and continue to lie. So again, we do more exposure. The fight continues. Free my baby Ashe. She deserves to be home with me, her divine creator. And until next time, thank you for your time. Also, she did include some more examples of stories in this article, but they're kind of depressing, so I won't read it. But you can find a copy. Just Google Nancy Schaefer CPS fraud case speech. On your way out, if you haven't done so already, please like, share, subscribe. Go ahead and donate. Leave a comment. And until next time, study well. Islam, peace and love. High vibrations only. High vibrations only. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Peace.